God. All right. We are going to keep moving because if we don't, we will linger on this forever.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to talk about. Ubisoft kicks off with an orchestral summoning of the Assassin's Creed series.
Honestly, it might have been a highlight of my E3, not because I particularly cared or didn't care for it, but Rob Zachney's response to this symphony of just damn, I want to play some Assassin's Creed.
You literally were like, these look like good games.
and I pointed out, I was like, no gameplay in this cinematic. And he's like, yeah, exactly.
But you played them.
I own many of them. I've installed some of them. But here's the problem. Every time you fire it up, that entire orchestral arrangement, the medley of the different themes from the different games, it's all being accompanied by footage of redcoats firing in formation and people doing boarding actions aboard ships and people having sword fights in France.
Yeah.
And I'm I want to do all of that. But the experience of playing Assassin's Creed is always
it's not that.
Climb this thing and pounce from above. And I'm not again. and I'm when do we just start knifing British officers in the colonies? And it's 8-9 hours from now.
Yeah, that one specifically. Yeah. I like that game more than most folks when it came out, but no, that's not true. I still did not like that game. I like that intro more than most folks when that came out.
Did they miss a trick by not making the intro of the game? Is it you had
I don't know. I think that came out. We cannot do this
We're
again.
We're going to relitigate Assassin's Creed 3.
Because we're about to talk about Watch Dogs Legion, which is probably it's the biggest thing that I think Ubisoft showed off today.
Mm-hmm.
That game is out in March.
Yes, March 3rd or something.
Something like that, 2020. The leaks and rumors were true. The pitch of that game is that the line between NPC and player character is utterly blurred. And you were playing as a dead sect.
You're
just playing as DedSec, but you're playing as a cell of DedSec in London, in a near future post-Brexit dystopian version of London. By which I think what we mean is a simple, small extension of many programs and kind of ideological aims that are already incredibly present. And so
it was the same sort of thing where they're we're imagining a world where technology has taken a dark turn, and I was
my guy, this one?
What?
Where people
I'm
are
hearing that technology is already taking a dark turn.
People are being deported. Word? Okay.
Cages, people in them.
People are in cages.
Wait, I'm hearing that's already okay. All right. Well, it's a darker turn.
Totally. So the pitch as it was given is British accents. London is a big iconic city. I'm gonna get the stuff that I completely roll my eyes at out of the way first, and then I can dig into the stuff that especially having played it, that I respond well with. There's a specific line in there that is London's culture has affected the world, which is
that's a way to put it.
It sure has.
It sure has. You're right. People from London sure have gone to other places in the world.
This was the entire when Clint Hocking comes out, and we'll get to his significance in a moment. But the designer of the game comes out and is talking about as London goes, so go we all. And it's yes, but often it's whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah.
Is the issue. It's ask former Commonwealth nations about how that went.
Totally. It is a game in which the local government, because it's been ineffective, because of Brexit, because of other things we haven't probably seen yet in the narrative, has taken a step back. Policing has been taken over by a private military company. In fact, a major corporation called the Albion Corporation seems to be at the heart of authority inside of London. The DedSec, which was once a sort of anonymous, analogous group back in Watch Dogs 1, and then kind of became a little bit more left-leaning than anonymous, I would say, in Watch Dogs 2, and a little bit more, just a lot hipper, a lot cooler with characters like Marcus and Wrench, who are fantastic in Watch Dogs 2, now has developed into a full-fledged resistance movement, an anti-authoritarian group, so called by the game, not by me. And you are the group. You are not a major player character. You are not a character who is the leader of that group. There is no cover hero. There's no Marcus equivalent or Aiden Pierce, which is fascinating to think about. To go from Aiden Pierce's iconic cap to the four of us. If we play that game in a year,
We're all his Cap now.
we're all the cap. Everyone is cap.
Everyone's Cap now.
Which is later. That's an Avengers. We'll get there. But
I thought you were talking about Mario Odyssey.
Also
We're
Mario
just
Odyssey.
fucking
Just throw
tossing
that
hats
cap.
everywhere.
You play as characters who are procedurally generated, who have traits, who are part of a couple of different kind of character classes, and those characters have relationships with each other. They have kind of Sims style or Elder Scrolls style, Radiant AI style, daily routines. They have opinions of DedSec. They have goals, and those slot. And some of this I'm drawing on our experience having played this game now. They slot into, or with those characters, you perform 5 storylines. The way they sold it.
Yeah, there's like 5 major branches of storylines. Like when I had a chance to talk to Clint for a couple of minutes, and like it's like one's like the private military contractors. One is like, the
three that they talked to me about were private military contractors, organized crime, which has seen a spike, and then which we'll talk about, and then there was a third one that was kind of there was a third one. It's gonna kill me that I don't remember this.
Let me see if I have it. Anyway,
privacy, right? The surveillance state, specifically the surveillance state was the third of those. There's 5 of those. You think about something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which similarly kind of had a bunch of story threads through it, where there was the cult story thread, there was the familial story thread, there were like a bunch of them, and a lot of those had endings on their own. My supposition is that will be a similar structure here, that you will finish off those different things, and maybe they'll all build up to a big central one, the way that kind
But it's kind of like a checkbox, like boom, did that one, move on to the next one.
Totally.
Seems like a very modular structure too. If they wanted to add more down the line,
Exactly
right? Because
that.
then they can just here's another
Which is
storyline path.
Ubisoft's whole deal, right?
Yeah.
And the other half of this pitch is like who's on it, I would say, which is this is going to be the first game that Clint Hocking has shipped since Far Cry 2.
Which is wild.
Which is wild. Which was 11 years ago.
Not for lack of trying.
absolutely.
He's been around, right? Like he's been at a couple different studios.
Sure enough. We walked through this, right?
Speaking of which, Patrice Tendelay showed up at the PC Gaming Show,
That's
right?
true.
Right.
So, there's sort of been a journey of the damned for high-profile Ubi designers of a particular vintage.
Of the blogosphere era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
The 2010s. The
Right.
early 2010s.
Even before that with Clint. Clint was at, Far Cry 2 launches in 2008. He goes to LucasArts. LucasArts shutters. He goes to Amazon after that, and then to Steam, then to Valve. Valve, then Amazon.
Yeah.
And then back to Ubi 3.5 years ago. And then has collected a lot of people on that team, some of which were at this event today. I talked to Liz England, who, if you follow on Twitter, is a fantastic kind of proc gen expert.
To the point that when I asked Clint about a very specific question about how like the systems work and figuring out how the data is sort of assigned to different characters, he's like honestly, I'm gonna get it wrong. You should just talk to Liz. She built that shit to make sure that we get it right.
Thankfully,
that's good.
That's a good, honest answer, and also shouting out someone else on your team that they built that. Go talk to them.
Right. People like Kate Tremblay, who is a great writer. The team of people there seems really sharp, which is the main reason, and then also my play experience, that I'm holding out hope, I think, for this. This strikes me as a game that is one, and maybe not first and foremost, it is interested in saying stuff about the world and about culture and about politics, even if being part of a big corporation and being surrounded by PR folks.
I was gonna say,
there's
so
part of that. Yeah.
So I had a chance to. I'll pull a couple quotes.
But I want to be clear. Right. I don't mean this in the way that Far Cry 5 was wow, this could say something about something.
Right.
I mean this in a much more focused way, and I mean this in a way in which when you talk to the people making this game, it feels like they have stuff that they want to say.
Yes.
It feels like PR is a little shook by the project.
It has sort of an ideological thrust in a way that Far Cry 5
I
didn't.
think it's a very broad thrust. In fact, the thing that one dev that I spoke to said was, it's not a very brave thrust. Anti-authoritarianism isn't brave. The idea that we need a diverse set of people to push back on authoritarianism isn't a brave position, but it's not one we see taken very often.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm paraphrasing that, but that is 100% the gist of what was said. And so that is the heart of it, and that is a political heart, but also I'm at the point where it's like, I don't want to just have the conversation of like, but Ubisoft says it's apolitical anymore. I want to just be like, well, what's the work say? Let's talk about the game.
We know that's bullshit.
You can look at a basically like what.
Yes.
I think the best way to look at it is like, well, let's look at a holistic analysis of what this game is saying. Obviously, we can't do that yet. The game's not out yet. But theoretically, right? That's how you approach these sort of things. What is this game actually saying about this quote unquote post Brexit world that it keeps touting? And like, that's obviously marketing shorthand. But what is it marketing shorthand for?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. And then what is it doing in the game itself? Patrick, you talked to Clint a little bit about this, or not about the meta conversation. You just dove into the conversation.
Well, because part of this is like due to like the setup of the conversation was like I came out of Austin and I both played about an hour of the game, and as I'm rolling out, I just happened to lock eyes with like a PR person. They were like, "How's your demo?" And I was like, "Oh, it was good. Really enjoyed it. Thanks." I was like, "Are there any interviews?" And like, "Oh, I actually think Clint's gonna be available in a minute." I was like, "Okay." Usually like pre-book this stuff and everything's lined up with very specific times, and this was just sort of like, "We'll go see." They come back and then they roll over to me and they're like, "You can have 5 minutes." And I was like, oh, that's like not enough time for. I'm looking at my notes. I have like 2 pages of like theoretical topics, and I'm like, maybe I'll get 30 minutes. Like, and they're like, maybe 10. And I'm like, okay. There is like no time to like bullshit or like start up like I started with, we follow each other on Twitter. We haven't met in person before, and he's like, and then we quickly figured it out and sat down. Anyway, like I wasn't interested in asking one under the glare of like 9 lights, 6 PR people around me. Like I wasn't gonna be like so that. Ubisoft political interview, like in the context of that, so my thought is like, and we were talking about this off mic, is like, look, and we just talked about it here, of the idea of like treating them as cultural objects that are saying things regardless of like how the media training stuff comes out of that. And so my question to him was more along the lines of like, look, like the trailer for this game opens with like immigration cages. Like we know there are kids on the border right now in fucking cages, and it's like you were playing with appropriating, taking from like real life imagery in which like people are being affected, hurt. I was like, what kind of conversations have you had about taking that imagery and then putting it into like ostensibly like an entertainment product? And it's like, where does that go? And so his response to that, which I think is in some ways like a wink wink, he says we make culture. Which I think, like,
we make looks over his shoulders, culture.
Yeah, but I think like that's a smart way of like rephrasing what we're talking about, because someone like Ubisoft, especially given the way that Gamergate crowds respond to the word politics, it like that word has been like turned toxic to a company like Ubisoft, in which they're clearly making political art. Or games, or however you want to.
Right. They're employing people who clearly have political things to say.
Yes.
Who are the people who I'm sympathetic for in that situation? Are the people who are like, I can't fucking believe that my boss's boss's boss is telling me I can't say this.
Right.
How do I get them to give me money to make the thing I want to make anyway? Mm-hmm. Anyway, continue. I don't know. So what was Clint's response?
So he says, we make culture. Somebody makes a film with people in cages at the border. We don't question that. Make a film worthy of talking about, and I'll watch it. Don't belittle or appropriate it for gain. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be respectful of a really complicated and difficult situation, and we're looking at real problems in the world, like immigration crises, economic crises, and crisis of democracy and rising authoritarianism around the world, and we're extrapolating those things into the future and saying, in this game, you're going to be a group of people, not a hero who's going to shoot everybody to solve the problems, but a group of people who come together, put aside their own differences to fight back against those things and build a better future. And it's like, between like the word culture and then a lot of things that you can sort of read between the lines on that, and someone like Clint, who is a really smart designer who clearly has thought those things through. Where these games' politics actually land, like, who knows? But there are things enough in that statement that you're like, okay, that's like a decent way of like reframing the conversation.
I think that's a very smart way to, from him. That's a very good way of answering that without saying
it's a wink. It's like,
yes,
of course,
exactly.
like you should be looking at this game in this way.
I think you have to really want to say a wink. Like, I hear that and it just sounds like a bag of nothing. Like, part of this is I don't know Hocking's body of work that well. Like, I know Far Cry 2, but like his work on the Splinter Cell series, like I don't know. I think he did Hitman as well.
I'm not sure.
Blood Money.
I don't think so. I think it's mostly just Splinter Cell. Anyway, it's sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, but I hear that answer and I just don't. I hear basically the same answer I've been hearing for years, which is, yes, obviously all these things are happening in the world and it's very serious. Anyway, our game is about there's bad things in the world, and you have to unite with people and work together to stop the bad things. And what that often means is we're going to find some symbolism that can be read in a variety of ways by a variety of people, and everyone will agree, well, that seems pretty fucked up, regardless of what their politics and beliefs actually are, right? And so I think there's a lot of folks in the world who, if there were detention cages and jails open air on the end of their street, they would be concerned, and they would say, this is fucked, this has gone too far. The idea of those, this is not hypothetical, this is the country I live in
real.
right now.
Yeah.
There are people who would, if that was happening in their backyard, in their neighborhood, at the end of the street, they would say, this has gone way too far, we have to do something immediately. But those same people, as long as that suffering is being kept out of sight, out of mind, will regard that as a normal status quo and an ongoing policy debate and discussion.
Right.
And making a game like this, you end up, the symbolism you're going to employ is going to resonate with both those groups of people.
It's a Hunger Games situation.
Both of them will feel like the hero. But the problem is, if you're still basically telling that half of the audience that are very much part of the fucking problem, that like, well, when it gets bad, you'll know it.
Right.
You know, the alarm's already going off. They don't know it, and this answer just doesn't do it for me.
So the thing for me is like, I think there's the thing that makes me both think that you're right here, but also make me super curious about where they're going with this, is the way that the NPC player character relation binary is blurred. The reason for that, one, the core conceit of the game is any character is recruitable. I don't think that anyone in the world is recruitable to any political position or popular movement. I think that if there were people on the end of this street right now in cages, there would be people in this town who were like, hell yeah. And I don't care how many
or an apathy of, well, there's a reason.
There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any amount of personal favors I could do those people to bring them on board. In fact, there would be many people who are like signing up to be like, let me guard the cages.
Yeah.
That is the reality of this world. That is the reality.
In LA right now, it's homeless people.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right. So that is where I'm 100% with you. And I think that the mechanical system that they are pushing here, the idea of you can play as anyone, undercuts the reality of a political moment of crisis like this, specifically of authoritarianism, which is that authoritarianism doesn't only happen because people with guns are in power. It happens because people often vote them into power.
People without guns.
Right,
Yeah,
decide.
that's the thing.
Those people, those are the ones who I'm with, right? Those people have my values at heart and are going to defend them and enforce them for those degenerates who refuse. So that's the part of me who's like 100% with you in your skepticism about Clint Hocking's position there. The other half of it is that, one, I don't know that Clint is the be-all, end-all on this project. I think that there is, when I talked to some devs throughout the day today, one of the things that they kept coming back to, and I don't know if Clint talked in this way too, but was like, this is not Clint Hocking's game. Yeah. They were like pretty active about like, yeah, we collaborate in a way that I've not collaborated on games before.
To one example of that, in my presentation,
Right.
there's in our setup is like you went to a 10-minute presentation, then you played 45 minutes of the game. Kent Hudson, who I don't know, was he the one that gave your presentation
I think so,
too?
yeah.
I don't know but he's one of the principal designers. I don't know his exact title on the project. Something came up, and then someone shouted something. There were a lot of influencers, let's say, in like we were a little more participatory in the presentation process, in which there was they were talking about non-violent sort of like interactions in the game, and then someone was like said something about the guns, and then he like pushed back, saying like, well, actually, like I argued really fucking hard to make sure that you can make it through this game without killing anyone, and that sort of thing where like, and he was like really a lot of conviction in saying that. It was like not part of the script. It was like an offbeat moment. Gave me a sense of maybe what you're talking about, where it's like somebody said, no, like if we're going to do this, we're going to find a non-violent way through this game, even if that's not necessarily what a lot of players will end up doing.
The funniest thing about it was the way that the one of the developers I was speaking to kind of framed it, who said, in some ways it feels like the team was infected by the ethics of the work, which is there's no hero on the title, on the title screen, on the cover art. the core premise of the game is that there is no one who can have the skill set necessary to make political change happen, to change the world. And the way that works, just to like get into the nitty gritty a little bit, is every character in the game is a class, right? Every person in the game.
3 classes.
It's more than that. There's only 3 in the demo we played today.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I heard like 2 or 3 times that actually in the final build, right? So each of those characters, and like this is the other half of the thing I started setting up, 30 minutes ago at this point. But I said, hey, I think it's saying something. The other half is the game critic in me who loves proc gen stuff, who loves systems interaction, who loved the stuff in Watch Dogs 2 that was about nonviolent puzzle solving, who loved the ways in which the skill set I had and the verbs I had interacted with the world, is giddy at some of this stuff. And it's important for me as a critic not to let that giddiness at mechanical design get in the way of being kind of ambivalent about the stuff that I truly am ambivalent around narrative and theme. But each character has a class. You can assign that class when you recruit them, I believe.
Yes.
But they have certain traits that are built in, right? So their traits,
Which may influence why you choose
one thing or the other,
But you
right?
could like mix and match like someone with like a droid spec like bonus, but make them a heavy
weapons person or something like that, right? And as they level up, you get them, you kind of work them through a progression. They can get 3 skills, but there's like 12 or 15 skills per class. And so no single person, you're not going to have like, oh, here's my number 1 hacker. You might have a hacker who has the skill set you personally like the most, but you might still come to a mission where you're like, fuck, I actually need the version of the hacker who has the droid or the drone that they can control that has the turret built into it so that I can like run into the room and like stun gun all these guards instead of the version of it who can do a stun knockout and keep controlling the same one or whatever, right? And so that on the design side of it, the idea that is such a big swing. That is such a big swing. To go to a company like Ubisoft and be like, there's no character. No, you're not going to be able to sell a t-shirt with this person's face on it. You are not going to send a press release around that says what was the character in Assassin's Creed?
Aiden?
Or Aiden, but like the most recent one, who's
Marcus?
a character. No, I'm talking about Assassin's Creed now.
Oh,
which one?
Alexios or Cassandra.
Yeah.
It's like everyone likes Cassandra. Everyone played that game. Even people like me who like didn't love that game was like, Cassandra seems dope. That is off the table in this game, right? We were not going to be able to sit around a table and be like, my favorite character is blank, except for like NPCs, except for not even NPCs, but except for like the AI who you talk to sometimes.
One's
right?
presumably like enemy type sort of like character.
They're
like
all
villain.
people.
Even like the villains, like the named villains and shit.
So this is the question. Is like I don't know about the named villains.
Yeah.
But the guards are. So like if
and especially like if you go into a sequence where like part of the way that the game doesn't necessarily comment on whether like you choose violent or non-violent options, but the systems do. And so for example, if you go into a room and you choose to just gun everyone down, like that gets marked like on like that family tree. So it's like if that guard has a brother.
Wait, really?
dude, absolutely. He will like you less.
But to your character, right?
Yeah.
So like it's like that in that particular character you're playing. So like if you're playing as Doug and Doug goes in, fucking lights up the room with shotguns, it's like, well, if you shot Frank, like Frank's brother is gonna find out that Doug
and he's gonna like DedSec less. And then there was also conversation about how that will tie into potential faction relationships.
Shadow of Watch.
So that's the thing.
Shadow of Watch.
In response to me asking Clint of like something we were talking about during the presentation was like, well, this whole thing of like, well, yeah, of course there's gonna be people who don't necessarily want to be part of the resistance, like are going to be either friendly with the authoritative government. And his response to that was like less that. Because it seems like they're really settled on like you being able to recruit anyone. But he said your actions will send people to different factions, to different extremes. And that was the example of like, look, you want to go in and light everyone up, then like that family tree or that like specific person may get sprouted in a different direction. If you to go try and recruit someone where they have like, let's say, a debt to someone who's blackmailing them, like you'll get that person, but that person who was blackmailing them, they will go down on you or according to the tree and like get pushed in some other direction.
Some of the idea there too is something like there was a character who I ran across who was a corporal in the military. I was like, he fucking hates DedSec. He's a cop, right? Or he's a soldier. And yes, and this is again where there's some disconnect for me is like, I don't know that I would ever be able to radicalize that soldier by fixing his debt problem or whatever, right?
Or prioritizing his medical care at the hospital.
Right, which is one of the things that came up.
You could also
right?
euthanize people.
Can you?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
So this is one of those interesting, like designed play as intended play type issues. Because I'm thinking about this and I'm like, you could do some fucked up shit.
Oh,
in this
absolutely.
Game. Like,
I mean,
immediately, like,
the premise
suggest
is
itself,
already
right?
the very basic premise. And I asked them about this was like, okay, wait, you're telling me like I'm supposed to be this positive resistance movement. Every move I have, every verb that I have is fundamentally based on a breach of privacy. It's fundamentally based on a breach of consent.
And the descriptor is fantasy. That like Clint used that on stage multiple times.
Right.
The term was fantasy.
Right.
That makes
so,
it,
like,
what would worry me about that, right, is that like without a sort of like firm ideological thrust of the game, then suddenly, and without, I would say, mechanical drawbacks to doing quote unquote bad things,
right,
then you're going to end up with players using this as like a cruelty playground.
Which they're going to figure out how to do no matter what, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like people do that in any game, but at least like in something like GTA, that's kind of in the canon, right?
Well, and
like,
there's a limit to it.
And there's a limit, yeah.
But I don't know that limit is, and this comes back to my like the shit that I was writing about Watch Dogs 5 years ago now, right? Which was like, here is a world in which I can bring up a scan of a person, and it says that they have cancer. And I can steal from them. I can rob from them, right? I can be like, oh, and also they have $500 less in their bank account now. In Watch Dogs Legion, I can pull up the thing and say this person has a chronic illness, and in fact, that chronic illness might make them mortal in a way other characters aren't.
So yeah,
For instance,
way that like there's a one of the random stats going to get assigned to a character. If they are ill, then not necessarily they'll get this, but if they are ill or elderly, they can get one that says they will randomly die, which means you could just be in the middle of a mission and just...
Or they could be off in your roster of characters. Like, this is a sick person.
Yes.
I had another character...
Someone asked in our presentation, like, can you get a single... Like, could you force this game into a hero mode?
Mm-hmm.
Could you essentially main a character and get them to the end? They said, like, yeah, probably technically, but seems against the spirit of the game and would also be, like, extremely difficult to do.
I think the difficulty is the interesting part there because it could be technically very hard, but there's always going to be some speedrunner who does it. But if the game is like actively pushing you against that, which I think it sounds like it is.
Well, for example, like the way the revival mechanic works is where it's like if you get hurt enough, you go down, and you can either give up, which means you get arrested, or you get back up. If you choose to get back up, the next time you would go back down into that stunted state, you just die.
Right.
Like so you can you can get that character back, or you can let them go get arrested, and then maybe you get your hacker, and then you bring them over and you get them out of jail. Like there are ways to run that loop.
Here's the one that got me. I was like, fuck, this is cool. You can get your hacker, you can try to storm Scotland Yard or sneak into Scotland Yard and then hack the computer and get them off the hook. Or you could even go in there and also put a warrant out for an enemy's arrest, for instance. Or you could go recruit some lawyers. And lawyers have a passive, which is they reduce the amount of time your people are locked up. And it's like, oh, here is the systemic case that they're making that is revolutions aren't won only by people with guns or only by people with law degrees or only by politicians.
And those people are geographically, I mean, you can find them randomly, you can just scan and find a lawyer.
Right.
But if you're looking for a lawyer, you go to the financial district. If you're looking for it'd be sort of weird to someone that was cool with the regime would be hanging out here. There's
it's
literally
dead
a bar.
It's DedSec neutral.
Support.
Yeah, support. Yes.
If you want people who automatically already have their support up, they will be in areas where protest is happening.
Right.
So it's you want a lawyer, yeah.
There was a specific person who I almost recruited who was a games journalist.
Damn.
Who had previously been a blogger.
Damn.
And his only ability was doubles the amount of support you get when you're playing as him trying to recruit characters.
That's where it lost me.
Rob Zachney, we radicalized some motherfuckers on this podcast. You know it. And that is the part of me that responds well to games like State of Decay, the part of me that responds to games like Safe House Diaries, which is like such a weird deep cut that I think probably 1% of people listening know what the fuck that is. The part of me that responded the part of me that responds really well to stuff like the buddy system in Far Cry 2, and who thinks like, oh wow, there is so much, or who follows Liz England on Twitter and is like, wow, your coverage of Proc Gen or Tanya Short, people who like are doing, or Taryn Adams, who are doing really interesting stuff in the space of Proc Gen storytelling, or Rob Zachney and me doing XCOM runs, right? Being like, wow, I love to have the raw materials to tell my own stories, right? This is a game that seems deeply interested in that thing I asked for last year, which is I want games that help people learn the skill set of filling in the gaps to tell their own stories with raw materials. And if it can enable that a little bit, I'm going to be cheerleading for that part of it, at least, even as I remain skeptical about the kind of big picture political viewpoint it might have.
I guess my only like mechanical worry with this, honestly, from what you've said, I haven't had hands-on with it,
Sure.
But like you mentioned, like, oh, you could like recruit a lawyer. But cannot the lawyer shoot gun? Like, why not? Why wouldn't you just? Well, you
So there is like
this is what
there's
I'm worried
there's a
about.
really weird jump that I'll be curious if it gets addressed in all the game. I don't think so. I think they're just going to paper over it. So it's like the way the demo is set up is like you are in front of a bar and they're like, cool, like walk into the bar and then you can scan whoever you want. Like this demo is going to let you recruit any number of like the 12 people who are in here and like
I left and recruited someone, so fuck.
Oh,
them.
that's cool. Yeah.
In fact, I recruited someone who was either cheating on one of their partners or was in a poly relationship. Because when I was like, how do I recruit you? The thing was like, well, my girlfriend and my paramour are both have warrants out for their arrest. If I can clear those, he'll like DedSec enough to turn his back. He's great. I just need to describe him.
Sure, go.
He's wearing a red leather jacket. He's a black dude with a red leather jacket with black jeans and a huge mohawk. Deep punk vibes, who had the character thing that was like police record for inciting anarchy. And because of that, he had plus 40% damage to captain enemies and 10% faster reinforcement calls. Oh, did that happen to you?
What?
Your NPCs, not your NPCs, the rest of your team helps you in passive ways in the background during certain
So that
events?
I was in a mission and I was like sneaking around. I was playing one of the stealth types. And then all of a sudden, like things start popping off and they're shooting at someone. And I was like, what happened? And the designer was like, well, peek over. And we peeked over and it was just like, yeah, this one of your boys just came through and he's just like...
Okay, that
the
rules.
opposite
That rules. That's
the
really
opposite
cool.
thing happened to me, which is like I got fucked up and was trying to run from the cops, and one of the other people in my team, who again is not a scripted character, it is a scripted character, but is not a character who was scripted by name, was like, oh, they got drones on you, let me help you. And all the police drones just went, bing, and like buzzing flies fell to the ground and exploded, which was cool. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking to you about my boy who I recruited.
Fine.
whose name is
My
Herbert
boy.
Hopkins, who was in debt to Clan Kelly, which is one of the kind of organized crime groups, whose paramour had an outstanding arrest warrant and whose girlfriend had an outstanding arrest warrant, and who had a parole officer who I could go deal with, who had a loan shark I could go deal with, who had the girlfriend and the paramour. And all of those people exist in the world. And
You can literally pull up on the map. You can go to like on an individual basis for a character. It shows based on those interactions, like at what time and what routes they're going to go on. So you can just go observe it, like get information about like what they're up to, like and start making decisions on how you choose to push back.
And the reason I'm underscoring this so deeply is because this to me is so importantly different than Ghost Recon Breakpoint. This is so importantly distinct for me than, like, you know, it was a joke when it was written or it wasn't a joke, I guess. Can you hug the demons? If only I could hug Doom's demons. Like, it is radical to conceive of a AAA game in which every character has personhood. It is not, maybe that radicality is not like enough to shift things permanently, but it opens a gate, and importantly for me, the people who play this game, some of them are going to go on to become game designers, and if they at 15 are playing this game and
It's a framework,
right, and they're like, oh shit, I really liked it when I got Herbert Hopkins killed, that like his girlfriend hated me for the rest of the game, that was like a weird and interesting thing, and that like you know, at the end of the game, the graveyard has a bunch of DedSec members in it that you can, like, that are there. People are mourning, and you've lost kind of control over the narrative of your resistance movement.
I think that.
Do we know if that can happen?
That specific thing was described to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it you or it's on Twitter where it's like someone can die, the girlfriend will then start visiting a grave, and you can like go observe that.
I think what really does interest me about this type of like mechanical setting is that I think it does put the onus on the group instead of the individual. What worries me is that what you just said, every character has personhood. That makes like 15,000 red flags in my mind go up like, no, they don't. We can't do that. That is not possible in video games.
Sure.
What you can do is you can assign them a bunch of tags, and your brain can fill in the good
and you
part.
can assign them now. You can give them your specific agency. The
Yeah.
particular player tag, which is like
I'm
video
playing
games
you
in
now.
AAA space. Players are the most important, are made to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
This does not necessarily take that away, right?
It doesn't.
This game does not
Yeah.
continue without you playing it. It is an important distinction, right?
Well, also, I just mean in a level of just pure, like, the amount of things we can do with Proc Gen
Right.
are kind of finite
Right.
now, because for every bit of, every bit of, like, broadness has to be kind of countered by a bit of depth.
Right.
And everything you just said sounds really cool, but it also makes, like, alarm bells go off in my head, like, this can't be that deep.
How could
It
they
can't
do
be.
this?
It
And also,
cannot
what
be.
conditions is it in which they're making a game like this?
Yeah,
Right.
and like,
Right.
it sounds very cool. I would be really blown away if they pull it off for like a 40-hour video game instead of like a 3-hour design demo.
Right.
Because I think in a design demo sense, this could be really sick. And then like, you're playing this game for 27 hours and you're like, well, I could switch to the guy who's good with guns, but fuck it. My lawyer's like fine with guns, and what does it matter?
My
Like, what does
lawyer's
it matter?
level
Like,
30.
My lawyer's level 30. Like, he's fine with guns.
Did
And
you-
if
did
he
you-
dies, I'll just get someone else.
Did
Like,
you start as the grandmother?
Yes, which they're pushing
Did you
hard.
stick with her?
Only for a little bit.
No. So the way my demo started, you're like, yeah, you scanned the bartender. Like I ended up scanning the bartender, and I chose her because her like stat sheet came up, and one of the bits was most recent Google search pegging.
God.
And I was like, okay.
Good for her.
And I
Okay.
said,
What's good?
And I said,
Glad
you,
Brandy's still out there.
and I said, I will recruit you. And then we.
I need your skill set, man.
and she had some information that she needed to be buried, and I was like, I bet. And
Say it loud, say it proud.
So I go outside, and the designer running the demo with me, he's like, so she's pretty slow. You know, if you wanted to like switch to a different character who could like run faster getting around, I was like, nah. I'm staying with her, and I want to see what happens. And like, so there are two. I just put on two things, and then we'll move on because we talked long enough about this game. One, yes, she is older. The game we talked about this or hypothesized like whether like the environment would react to like an elderly character in a way that's like, could you like go and like do some shit that like people just wouldn't notice or suspect an elderly woman? Like no, like the game doesn't work on that deep of level. Two, because all the characters have to be able to do certain abilities, they are not going to stop Grandma from vaulting. And so, for example, like I'd finished up. True. I was like, am I gonna hurt her legs? And the guy's like, no. Like, he's like, we kind of gotta. I was like, yeah, I get it. And the second thing is that so when I left with Grandma, he's like, you can fast travel or you can go steal a car. I was like, all right, I'll go steal a car. And there was some automated taxis. And so presses the A button on the controller, turns on the auto drive, and just that car starts moving. But as that happens, my automatic taxi, like maybe the algorithm, it fucked up, hits her, and then she falls over. I feel awful. I wanted Grandma to be like assertive and show that she can do this. But I didn't mean for this woman to get hit by a car. She gets up, walks like 2 cars up, opens the door, takes someone out, gets into that car, hits a car in front of her, causes a series of crashes. Right. She gets
Open
out,
world games.
and I pull up my scan, and I go, recruit that lady. Bring her into my team.
Whatever we need. You need some photos deleted? You're on my team. Whatever it is.
You responded to this situation with power and poise.
You took charge?
And I was like, you're the kind of person I'm looking to join my legion.
So
anyway,
the last thing I want to say here is someone actually asked me about this, and then I was curious about it, and then when I was playing the character who was, again, they definitely start you with like, you're an old lady. This is a funny bit. This is our iconic hat, right? It is old lady with a gun.
Which
one of the
side
things-
note, when you pull out a gun is when you put on your mask. And so when I rolled up into the first area with enemies, hold left trigger, she puts on that mask, she crouches down, and she's got a gun. And it's just, it's a good bit. Anyway, sorry.
Is this like a thing? Like, will there be people with disabilities in this game? Will there be people? And the person giving my demo was like, to a degree, like there aren't people in wheelchairs in this game. There aren't people who's we've made what basically look like able-bodied people, which is frustrating because like clearly the demo is really, or the budget for this thing is through the roof. It would, the margins are off the table completely because of the rise of authoritarianism. But there are characters who are disabled, but who are disabled in other ways. There are and so like that stuff was like, okay, I'm glad you had that thought at least. And I think that is going to end up being, for me, my expectation of the story of Watch Dogs Legion is like, I'm glad you had that thought at least. In contrast to Breakpoint, in contrast to Far Cry, in contrast to that thing that unifies AAA action blockbusters out the door. What can we build? I'm always going to want the team that is going to take those big risks, even if they completely fail, right? And so this is a place where, like, I'm not going to say I'm confident in the game or its message, but I am curious in a way that, like, coming into 2019, I didn't think I would be, you know? So, Watch Dogs Legion. We should take a break. And then we'll come back and talk more about the first press conference of the day. There isn't that much else.
No, there's not.
Water?
You get some water.
Yeah.
I'd love a water.
Yeah.
BRB.
Yeah.
BRB.
And we are back. Before we do anything else, in the last segment, I said Wrench was the autistic character in Watch Dogs 2. That's not true. It was Josh. Josh was. Wrench, also great. Josh, also good. That game has some real issues, but I think actually people should play Watch Dogs 2 if you get a chance. If you missed it, go back and play it.
Sorry, I had an urgent question about Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
In all the other games, it's been like a really simple, like you can hack anything with anyone at any time. Like everything is just like boop, click the button. Sorry, that might have been really weird on the mic. Yeah, but like
That's fine.
You just click the button and it's hacked. Is there like now you have a specialist who's like good at stealing this shit?
No,
or-
that's more specific to like,
Well,
like you can have, there are certain abilities for like a drone, right? Like where I forget the specific use case, but like it's more that they have more access to things as opposed to, like, there's a base level of hacking that everyone
So
can do.
so for instance, most doors you can, or most computers you can like hit LB and be like, I'm hacking it. Certain ones you need to go up to it and walk up and hit a button to like do it physically, which separates the hacker class from every other class because the hackers have drones which can press things without their physical body being there. And so if you like the Watch Dogs 2 stuff of like, I'm going to send my little robot in to like climb
even for
through
them,
vents.
there are physical things that they have to touch.
Yes, but
So,
there are things that their drones can touch.
Correct.
So there's like
A little spider
right? The little
thing,
spider
yeah.
drone can come out, right? So there is like, yes, you're still just hitting LB, but there are abilities that are different, and there are, if the hacker class specifically can keep their body out of harm's way and like go into Scotland Yard to hack something, like, which is one of the things I did to like free my guy from prison.
Okay, I had two questions. I was lying. Can I also do a thing where I'm doing like the heist movie thing where this person is over here fucking this shit up,
Right.
And then switch to somebody else?
Not
to,
in
like,
what they've shown.
Okay.
Not as what they're
just
showing.
curious.
I bet that is like a mission thing, but it is
Yeah.
not. It was
Like, wouldn't
not
be
a
surprised
thing.
if it's like pick 3 people and then like you hot swap between bits
But-
as you accomplish objectives.
Yes, but that is not what they showed. What they showed was you go into a menu, you say, I want to switch to this person.
And there's also, they at least teased like the online co-op stuff in
Yes.
which you'll be able to bring your crew online and also recruit like new crew members there and bring them back into your
So if you have a
offline
crew that
state.
like my crew has a fucking sick look. Like I have made a unified look to my DedSec. I can roll into my game with my characters and show them off.
Also, like just a small detail about like how they like roll out like the computational stuff is like it doesn't figure out like the stats of a character or like what the relationships are till you pull them up. Like,
Oh, really?
It's not like the game
Interesting.
spawns in and goes like, we have developed all 7,000 characters and like that. I mean, to some
yeah.
degree that's true, but in terms of like actual like the Google search, like these other little colorful details, like the game doesn't do that till you decide to like
I'm looking at you.
turn your eye to them, and then it goes.
Information
I
cooling.
didn't say Althusser last night. I'm saying it tonight. Althusser interpolation. It is in the moment. It is the moment that you are regarded as a subject okay, people should just that's fine. Anyway,
I was going to say it's reminiscent of Heisenberg, but
also that obviously, but when we're talking about subjectivities,
of course, it's actually a better analogy.
We're gonna
For me, I'm just thinking like, oh yeah, that makes total. It's cheaper.
Of course it is.
That's
this
why.
answers some of the questions, like how do you do this? Oh,
That's why.
Well, no, that's
It's
what when I
cheaper.
asked that, he was like, yeah, it's a computational resource issue.
It totally makes
yeah,
sense.
of course,
It's
of
not an
course.
absurd thing. You don't
Right.
want to generate that.
But it's
for
just
some of those
it's like an
characters.
interesting detail of like how you
Yes.
do the execution of something with like that much granularity of detail.
God,
right.
yeah.
Well, and that is the thing that I could get lost in talking about for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
is that style of stuff? Is the stuff that is like the ways in which the characters have attributes that are based on other attributes that are kind of overdetermined to create a skill set or stuff like that. Anyway, we're gonna keep moving. What are we gonna move to, Rob? You got the master list over there.
We got to talk about the sitcom situation just real quick.
What the hell was that?
So, Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, was he also the character who came out as gay with the amazing
Yes.
interpretive
Yes.
dance sequence?
Yes.
God damn, that was good. Came out to talk about this show called Mythic Quest: Raven's Banquet. It's kind of
fucking good name!
so that is the show within the show of it is a sitcom set at a MMO studio that's made a game called Mythic Quest, which is a like smash like WoW level hit, and they're working on their major content expansion, Raven's Banquet, and McElhenney plays this character Ian Gill.
Ian spelled Ian, which maybe that's a pronunciation I don't know, but it's perfect.
Yeah, and it just looks like a really good workplace satire, and the pitch and the trailer for it was very good. It hit certain beats that are so familiar from video game presentations and kind of like industry propaganda. There's the sequence where the Ian character is sort of talking about, if you compare games to traditional media like movies and television, games make way more money and therefore are more important. Why aren't...
How many times have you heard that goddamn pitch?
I have been in job interviews in games journalism where people make that argument, like, we're bigger than movies. Like, fuck off. Do any math.
Also,
But what if not?
Right. But also hire me.
Also, I really love, by the way, I couldn't put my finger on it, occurred to me later, Ian Gill bears an uncanny resemblance to Jack Dorsey.
Oh yeah,
That
you're
was
right.
I was sitting there, I was like, why is this guy making my skin crawl? And it's because it's like, to a degree, this is a good send up of like the game industry, but I think there's a broader send up of like a sort of corporate culture that surrounds tech. And this character just gave such a Jack vibe. It looks cool. Like I was fully expecting that to be a weird.
You continue.
Yeah, weird kind of shitting on sequitur in the middle of the Ubi thing.
Right.
And by the
Hey.
end, I was like, I want to watch this.
Rob, I got a note here from Verified from PC Gamer.
PC Gamer.
The website.
Yeah.
They say, not a great trailer. Show could be great if it doesn't gloss over real industry problems. Satire got a bite. Always,
It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Is good. Got faith.
What's going on
Hey,
with
who's over there at PC Gamer? PC Gamer responds, the brand had a beer. Sorry.
Tyler, log off.
Wow.
It was Tyler, wasn't it?
Shout out to PC Gamer.
Shout out to PC Gamer.
Someone forgot to switch accounts.
PC Gamer's great. Absolutely.
Well, and it was funny seeing part of the reason it was here was because I guess in some way like they came through and did like some research on like what it's like to be in a game development studio at Ubisoft. Like Eric Pope, like who we all know, like tweeted like, "Is this where I get to say that I sat in a meeting to like teach him what it's like to like work on games and like."
Well, and Ubisoft has this fascinating streak of self-loathing in its games, right? Like Abstergo and the Assassin's Creed series is explicitly Ubisoft. Yeah, like Black Flag.
Look at these assholes.
Right. The game within the game is like you're researching a shitty game and you're leaving the Black Flag simulation and then you're checking your email and dealing with narcissistic CDs.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
What's next?
What else? There's like 14 Tom Clancy's.
Yeah, so there's an Adventure Time Brawhalla.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Brawhalla is one of those games where I'm like, man, if the new Smashes weren't good, that game would have been incredible.
It would have been huge,
Like,
right?
It would have been huge.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly fine game.
Yep.
It's just Smash came out.
Then John Bernthal showed up with his dog
Yeah.
and gave a weird speech.
You're seeing that game later this week. That was for Breakpoint.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
I'm just gonna say off the bat here that I think the strange thing is the way Bernthal's speech went as he describes his character, Cole D. Walker.
Yeah, this is the second game that uses Walker as the character name this year.
It's kind of like Cold Walker.
Yeah, well, I'm a little fucking
Look,
cold
you're the
in this
heavy.
game. I hate it. Rage had a character named Walker.
cool
Spec
name.
Ops' lead character's last name is Walker. Why do people gotta keep making me a murderer for? What do you like? I'm already got it
can
hard.
Continue to top the Walker power rankings.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? Yeah. Okay. Come on. Thank you. You know what?
Hey, Texas-
I'm the best motherfucking Walker in video games.
Hey, Texas Ranger, eat shit.
Eat shit. Be a
but,
better person. Also.
Bernthal brought a dog.
Brought a dog.
Was it his dog?
It was his dog.
It was
He
his
brings
dog.
his dogs everywhere, apparently.
All
I
right.
heard
Sure.
Okay.
The dog is cute.
I had heard it speculated that it was John Wick's dog, that he'd stolen John Wick's dog.
Wow.
But the weird thing is,
Budget John Wick.
Bernthal's giving the speech about you're gonna face me, and Cole D. Walker is, and then he begins like giving all these positive superlatives about Cole D. Walker, and you're listening to it, it's like, damn, this dude sounds awesome. And
sick.
yeah, and so this is the weird thing about this is like there's an element of Breakpoint, you can see it as like chickens coming home to roost. Like this is very much like the Last Man Battalion in Division, where it's like creating like unaccountable like paramilitary super soldiers and just letting them do whatever the fuck they want or need to do. Eventually like comes home to roost. There's an element where you could read that into the story, but there's also a really sentimental version, very like Michael Bay's The Rock, right, where Ed Harris's character, where it's just like these good men just let down by their country and you know just kept on the field
We used
too
to treat
long.
soldiers as the honorable warriors and defenders of peace and duty
Yeah.
that they were.
So now these guys just went totally rogue and did what they do best: invade someone else's country, occupy it, and begin rearranging it.
Which speaks to the big disconnect on this is like, no dog, like they really were. You can't. The message or the subtext is supposed to be they always had the capacity to go bad. The truth is they were always bad. Case in point, Watch Dogs Legion. In Watch Dogs Legion, I just remembered something I have to get to.
Oh my god.
There are protests. Someone's on strike in Watch Dogs Legion, and you know who it is? The police. Because they're not on strike. They're protesting. They're mad that private cops got brought in. They're the bad cops. The good cops. There are people who are like,
The good cops just
bring
wanna get
back
back to
the
their
bobbies.
jobs."
Bring back the bobbies.
What was that great Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where the police are on strike?
Time
It's in
Cop.
New Orleans.
It was Time Cop. It was Time Cop.
Time Cop?
Yeah, he went on strike. He was like, I'm not going to do a Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm going to think better of it.
The way Clint put it was, you said the police aren't really enemies anymore. They're what we call faction affiliates. They're affiliated with Albion, the military
what I call the
corporation.
cops too.
But basically, they've almost become their lackeys. Albion has
Biggest
seized
faction
all the
affiliate on
authority
scene.
from the police, disenfranchised of their normal authority.
Disenfranchised is a good word. Their normal authority.
Their normal authority.
Normal.
Just watching somebody just like get hammered with a truncheon and just being like, damn, that could be us.
Do you remember when?
Man, Dante, this job used to mean something.
Oh man.
We used to deploy riot cops on our own dime. On taxpayer money, not on corporate money. Anyway,
we're
we're gonna go back.
I could say
Yeah,
that I
But
won't.
yes, this is my point: is that the Bernthal character is positioned as like seductive and honorable, but like it isn't enough to be like, oh, they could go bad. Like actually, the ghosts have already been doing the bad stuff.
Yeah, wasn't the last game about like invading a country? Wasn't that plot?
Well, it was about rescuing a country from the cartels.
Oh, my bad.
That had turned it into a narco state.
A very real thing.
You hate to see it.
Sometimes when a country becomes a narco state, you simply have to bring in the super Navy SEALs.
Look,
If America became a narco state, I would simply assassinate all of the leaders.
Narco state.
but like
Assassinate.
piece by piece.
Look, if the United States had militarized the drug war in the 80s, then everything would have been fine.
Yeah, if you think about it that way.
No, I mean, but this is the frustrating thing is like there's this element of Ubisoft is so deep in the fantasy of like it would be awesome to be like a tier 1 operator. It would be it's awesome to be a paramilitary commando, and then it tries to turn around and say, what if that was bad? And and you're still you create a character like this, which is this really like favorable, like what if a war criminal was just awesome and he took a wrong turn? And
I mean, he just recently played The Punisher.
I was going to say.
Right.
Yeah. It's like the same thing.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Like I'll have more about this later this week.
Yeah.
But it was a weird presentation. Bernthal's a charismatic, effective performer and actor. It was like I was paying attention during that segment, but it was weird. In terms of everything else, what
else was announced?
Yeah. There was more Just Dance.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sure.
Just Dance. Good game.
High Hopes.
That Panic at the
by
Disco
Panic
song
at the
is
Disco
good.
Sounds good. That's great. I like that.
I still like that song. That song's all right. Listen, I know it's basic.
I like Panic as a band generally.
Mm-hmm. He's got a good voice.
Yeah.
Okay, this was cool. Sorta. So
Qualify that.
Okay, Kato. What?
look, they can't all be like clear home runs on Gamer Christmas, right? Sometimes you open a present and you're like, I am
thanks,
pleased.
Grandma.
No, I'm happy. I'm glad I got this.
There's
Like,
a
I
receipt,
was-
right?
Yeah. No, it's not. This was not a receipt situation. It was
Okay,
like
all right.
I'm not displeased to see it.
Sure. Okay.
What game?
So what I have here is some haunted Japan shit.
Oh, right.
For honor, yeah, exactly. For honor, Shadows.
No, we
of
stand
Hitokiri.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah. So what if it was that, but for honor?
Sure.
And
Well, isn't the whole thing with For Honor? It's not really Japan, right? It's like,
They're samurai,
No, this
but
is
they're
Japan.
not.
well, but wasn't it always? No, this is dumb. Keep going.
we don't know
no,
enough
so-
about For Honor.
So
Nope,
for honor
I'm
exists
at
in.
For Honor lore.
Because I thought it's not
Holy
set in
shit.
Earth. This is dumb.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can keep going.
There were no signs. It came without warning.
Don't.
Doom came to us all. The desperate few struggled to survive. Perhaps we had a chance for peace, but desperation and trust are seldom allies.
I hate it when that's the case.
So began a millennium of conflict, 1,000 years of war, the greatest warriors
Remember when
the
you
world.
told us that Warframe spoiler?
That was good though.
This more earlier. People should look up Dominic Tarassen's piece from
RPS.
on. No, it was actually not when he was on. It was at PC Gamer.
Shout out to
You guys
CC.
are great. I love you, Evan. I'm really sorry. I completely bounced on that fantasy hockey league.
Dominic Tarassen's piece on great lore in Warframe. That has it was about the big twist. It's great.
It's
Anyway,
great. There was
Should we talk about the For Honor thing?
No, hold on.
No, we're good.
Look, welcome.
We're good. Like, what are any of us going to speak to it?
Hey Dante, welcome to Waypoint.
Oh, I'm very
This is
into
it.
this, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
So, by the way, we had kind of a morality play about our conversation about spoilers from a few weeks ago.
Sure, yes.
Where I was pretty doctrinaire
Oh my
about
God,
a pretty
this-
stark position about spoilers don't exist, and if you care about spoilers, get fucked. So apparently, there's a large spoiler in Warframe that alters your relationship with the series.
Fundamentally, 40 hours into the game.
And Austin's like, it's 40 hours into the game.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you? And Patrick was like, yeah, tell me about Warframe. And I was like, no. I might play that. And Patrick just shot me the most vituperative glance I've ever seen from him. It was like, fuck you. No, you're not.
And we let it lie, and Austin just goes, "All right, I'll just
fair.
I'll just DM you the
Yeah.
article."
Yeah.
And then like maybe 10 minutes goes by, and Rob's just like, "Nah, he's right."
After the stream is over, you can read us the spoiler. The name of the story is How a Clever Plot Twist Completely Reshapes Warframe's Story.
And I must make clear that you do not have to give a shit about Warframe to find it absolutely
it's really cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shadows of Hitokiri.
There's ghosts now.
Yeah, so like a samurai went bad. Again, whoa, just like Colby Walker.
Yeah, maybe the class of professional soldiers was always bad.
Yeah.
Join my people's revolution.
And she, hire more women guards, slaughtered an entire village, and now the village is haunted. And then the trailer was a bunch of like Vikings and shit just getting like murdered by ghosts.
See,
I
honestly wish I knew more about For Honor because I'm like, is this the first time they have like ghosts and shit? Has this been like this?
They had lightsabers recently.
Yeah, but that was like a goof. That was not.
Yeah,
that
don't
was not
fucking ever say lightsabers are goofy again in your life.
Lightsabers are very goofy, but it's controlled by
Get
a
off this
crystal,
podcast.
Austin.
A crystal and a holocron and an ancient history.
All right, we're not going to get into this. I love Star Wars.
Lightsabers don't have any weight, which is why you need the Force to use them correctly.
Yeah, they're great.
Exarchon
My
was
point
a
is,
punk.
I don't think, with my limited knowledge of For Honor, that they've had kind of supernatural elements before.
Except for Vikings and samurai and knights fighting each other.
that's not
because
those are all real.
They're
their
not real.
realms collided in a mystery space.
Okay, you didn't
that
get that
is
part of the lore.
Well, you cut me off.
All right, that's true. All right.
Move on.
All right,
Stop.
Moving on.
So anyway,
Get some help.
Unless there's dramatic music playing, you
Get a
cannot read
lightsaber.
that lore.
so
Hit the Christmas music. No, don't.
Don't hit the Christmas music.
Don't.
For Honor is haunted now.
Hit the NWO music. For Honor is haunted.
For Honor's haunted.
Apparently, so is Rainbow Six. We got a trailer. Yeah, we got a trailer with a commando type forearm.
Commando type forearm.
Look, it was
The classic.
there was some
commando.
great
That
muscle
is what it
tone on
looked
that
like,
arm,
yeah.
and then there's a lot of like
well,
black
there's
shit
like goo
creeping up
shit
the,
too. Yeah.
So yeah, apparently
I love that we are in the age of Left 4 Dead alikes.
Yeah,
I love that we
they're back.
Finally.
somehow.
Are they gonna have skill trees this time though?
Fucking probably. They're probably also going to have unlockable characters that cost you $1. Like that's how it all.
Probably
is.
more than
Like,
$1.
You're right, but you know what I mean.
I do.
yeah. Look, I mean, I can be cynical about this, but here's the thing: like, one of the I don't know why that's so funny.
No,
Austin.
sorry. Griffin Weston in the chat said Cox sword for honors haunted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. No more chat.
No, it's okay.
No more chat. We're
I'm not gonna
listening.
look
Just
anymore.
the
Close
chat.
it.
No more chat.
Everyone's blocked.
None of you is without sin. All right. So I think
Yes.
The Siege is cool. Rainbow Six The Siege is a really cool game. Hard game to get into because it's inherently competitive. Yes.
You said Rainbow Six The Siege. Is that? Are you
Rainbow
just,
Six Siege.
You
Rainbow
said The
Six
Siege. Are you just taking
thinking
The
about
Denzel
Siege.
Washington classic.
that, or are you saying, you know what, Austin, you were right. Add the to the beginning of every single game name.
The definite article is where the power comes from.
That's true.
It's like the Batman. We all know.
Right.
This,
Yeah. So it's a tough game to get into because it is inherently competitive,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of cool systems in it that would be like fun to play around with. The idea of them just creating a co-op type experience where, you know, we like basically it looks the pitch sounds a little bit more like maybe Killing Floor if you think
Yeah.
about like how Siege works.
It really does.
Killing
Yeah.
Floor, but Rainbow Six. I'm pretty much there for that, right? Like, just imagine the good time we could all be having, just like just opening with a fire of machine guns through walls and like just taking out zombies right and left, and then like
Again, there's
Patrick's
like
damn, I
six
gotta
of those
deploy
games
this
this year.
shield.
Like-
There are like 6 of those games.
But this is the good one.
I'm sure. When I think of the good
Thanks,
time,
Ubisoft.
I mean, I think that it looks interesting. This trailer showed us nothing.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
other than saying it's 3-player, which is unique, 3 of them, and he's got a
Well,
Google.
the Gears 5 thing is also
Oh,
3
you're right.
players.
No, it is.
And
Yep.
I was going to say, why would that be? And you know what? I realized we got a new conversation with that with a PR
Split
person
screen's
there.
dead. Is that why? Because that is why.
It is
Like-
that. But the thing that the argument or the metaphor that I think was it Tom Ohl who gave us this metaphor yesterday was like, it's like dinner reservations. 3 people, you can go to dinner anytime you want. 3 people, let's go to dinner right now. You can play a 3-player mode whenever you want. Easy to find a third. Easy to find enough people to get going.
Someone drops out, you can find.
You can find a third. Once you get to 4, once you get to 5, it's a whole thing.
That's a date.
Yeah. What are
That's
your
a whole
dietary
thing.
restrictions? What time do you get off work? How far away are you? And those dinner plans fall
Kato
apart.
raids every night.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's because Kato has a family of raiders.
I do.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the Waypoint Discord.
Shout outs to the Waypoint Discord.
They're wolves.
Fuck.
What happened next?
So Division 2 is continuing.
They're going to Coney Island, which has gained weird significance in
be-
Waypoint lore this week.
Look, so first they're not immediately going to Coney Island. First they're going to the zoo,
Right.
but not the Bronx Zoo, the National Zoo.
Oh.
And
That's not real, is it?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, and then they have to go to a university that is definitely fictional. The university is fictional, to investigate a missing convoy. What could have happened to it? Disease. Like they probably just got sick.
Spoil it. We just had some conversation.
That's the lore of the game.
And then a new raid at the Pentagon. We have to reclaim the Pentagon.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we?
That was one of my favorite. Wait for applause. It's not coming. Okay, I'll wait long enough that people feel bad, and then you'll applaud anyway. Because like, who among us is like the Pentagon? Woo!
Center of our democracy.
Love that place, man. Fuck.
Well, especially because like after he said the Pentagon, he was like, we need to reclaim our cherished secrets in the Pentagon. We can't let those fall into the wrong hands.
Fall into
like the
whose
Pentagon.
I don't understand
Also,
Division.
what secrets are like? I mean, we're kind of in a post-apocalyptic scenario.
What
Like,
does it
I don't know how
matter?
many
Like,
secrets.
like
are-
what does it matter if we found out that the president had a bad vote recount that we covered up? Like, what do you
What do you do in that
what do
scenario?
you do with that? Like,
Yeah.
the U.S. is dead. That's the point
Yeah.
of the game.
But
Yeah.
it isn't. We're going to rebuild it,
Yeah.
Dante, just the way it was.
right.
Exactly,
Exactly
the way it
the way it
was.
was.
And we're going to start with the Pentagon.
The Center for Democracy.
And that's why we can't let anyone find out where the hell we left those F-35s. And then there's a manhunt at Coney Island where we have to bring someone to justice who's been up to no good.
Roman, my cousin.
I assume it's a Last Man Battalion type
Almost certainly,
character.
right.
So yeah, you got to go back to.
It's a guy.
It's a guy.
Yeah.
It's
Adam?
a
Last
guy.
guy.
Adam?
Adam Malkovich? No, that's Resident
No.
Evil.
And you have to go to.
What?
I'll figure it out.
Adam Malkovich?
What's the guy? What's the
That's
Adam?
not a Resident Evil
I'm
character.
looking it up.
What's the Adam in Resident Evil?
I'm looking at what?
I don't know.
I was confused.
Wesker Malkovich.
Are you thinking of? Never mind.
So anyway, you got to go kill this guy.
Adam
Malkovich?
Benford.
That's not the Resident Evil one.
That's the Resident Evil one.
But anyway, you might be thinking, hey,
Keep moving.
I need more division in my
Well-
life. No, Patrick, you're definitely thinking, I need more division
You're right.
in my life.
I need more division in my life.
Yeah.
I'm
but-
sorry, Adam Malkovich is from Metroid. Adam Malkovich is the shitty dude from Metroid.
Is that
The
the other
Samus
M
one?
guy?
Like the
the
other-
other
Yeah.
M guy?
What
the
are
other
you
M
fucking
guy.
doing with your brain?
It's important.
Adam.
It's got
Adam
Adam right
was
there,
there,
and he's
so-
shitty.
Okay.
And Bioterror,
Bioterror.
bounty
Anyway,
hunters, going
so
to a
the thing
manhunt.
is- Here's the problem.
Yep. No, yeah. Go ahead. Tell me what
There's
the problem
only
is.
one problem, Patrick.
One.
You can't always be playing the division.
Oh, God, I
Sometimes
forgot
that's true.
you have to stop playing the division.
Oh!
And like, what are you supposed to do when you're not playing the division?
I don't know.
You
You said
gotta
it.
tell me.
What if you could watch the division?
Oh, this isn't where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to do another thing.
No, this
No.
is the next thing. This is the thing that I keep forgetting about.
The
Because it's so
Netflix
weird.
is partnered with Ubisoft, I guess, to make a division movie, apparently starring Jessica Chastain, Zero Dark 30. You know, if you're making a division movie, why not Jessica Chastain of Zero Dark 30? And Jake Gyllenhaal.
I like him. He's good. I'll watch him
Both
in
of those
actually
actors.
everything.
Both of those actors are
Sure.
great. Everything about
Yes.
this makes total sense. The problem is it makes too much sense because all of the Division 2 was already aping all of those things.
Totally. Which to me is like one of the things that keeps running through my head today. Actually, is the Division comes out as a movie. Let's say the Division comes out as a movie, and it was never a game.
Yeah.
I think all of us like don't bat an eye,
No.
and we go like, yeah, okay.
Wow, it's like Zero Dark 30, but it's like the future, I guess.
And maybe you
Fuck it.
see it, and you go like, yeah, me and my friends are gonna go see it. Like maybe there's an actor you like in it, or a director happens to get attached to it, and you don't fucking bat an eyelash, and you go and you're like, this is gonna be some like bullshit, and you go see it, and you're like, that was some bullshit, but like that one scene, huh?
Cool guns.
Cool guns. Watch Dogs Legion comes out as a movie, and the whole world would burn themselves over how good it was. It was like, holy shit, they said authoritarian. This has moved me. The way that people flip out over things like, the way that people think like the Avengers is woke.
I think you have a pretty low opinion of like
people.
Film.
Yes.
Do you remember how
film goes?
Hunger Games?
People didn't give a
Yes.
shit about V for Vendetta.
That is not true. I had people. I saw people today online saying they thought that there should be V for Vendetta masks in Watch Dogs Legion.
Well, that's
Do you
just
get it?
because it's the Guy Fawkes mask, and
Yeah.
people were like,
yes,
fucking nerds.
yes. But that's my point. Is like people
Yeah.
thought that V for Vendetta was like the wokest shit. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
What-
a
wait,
lot
wait,
about the
That's
fact
a lack
that
of exposure, though.
Well, what does that have to do with Division? I guess. Like, what?
my
what are you
point is that
saying?
like one of the things that I'm so interested in right now in this moment is that there are people like us who have. The other comparison for me is like I don't complain that Law and Order SVU fucks up nonstop, and it does. And I want to get to a place in games where we just don't give a fuck about AAA games not doing it right anymore.
Yeah.
But the only way to get there is to actually enable a class of game developers to create really good shit so that we can focus our energy there. And the only way I can see of doing that is to like be really energetic and celebratory when people fucking nail it. That's all. That's all.
Okay, that
I
I
didn't
agree.
follow the leap, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like fair. Like, I think
Yeah.
Point is, I'm looking forward to the Forward Unto Dawn of The Division.
Who's the director?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it announced?
I thought they.
Did they not put out like a big
Pretty
thing?
sure they did.
What
It's
director would you...
Aaron, not Adam. I fucked up.
Let me ask you.
If there was a camera here, I would get up and be dramatic, but there's not, so I'm gonna keep
Who
sitting down.
would you like to be directing it? That's my question. Dante.
I don't ask me about film directors.
Do you want to know who it is?
Whoever did Children of Men, I guess.
Yes, I do want to know.
Yeah,
David
Quaron.
Leitch. Who did
Oh, right,
Deadpool 2.
The much weaker sequel.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's less
whatever.
exciting.
Sure. It's going to be completely forgettable and kind
He
of.
was also a
interesting.
co-director on John Wick.
On
There
John
was
Wick.
Okay.
And then Atomic
Well,
Blonde.
they directed together and then they split.
But do you see the thing you're doing? The thing you're doing is like, oh wow, totally. I'll see his Division movie. Why?
Well, because it's free on
Good
Netflix.
action.
it's not free on Netflix. You pay for Netflix.
Yeah, but I mean, I have Netflix.
Oh, but speaking of all the Ubisoft games are going to be free now too.
No, they're not. In fact, it's too expensive.
Yeah, it's 50.
we can get to that.
We'll
No,
get to
but
that.
also I came up with a way to explain how it's not expensive.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Well, we're here.
Oh.
Otherwise, I can defend why I'm going to watch this fucking.
No.
I was gonna
it's
say,
fine.
We should. Are we going to talk about Square Enix? Because if so, we got to start powering.
Oh, you don't know what this is.
No.
We're gonna get through
You've
this,
made a
and you're gonna go to
mistake.
bed.
At some point.
I'm staying here as long as my ride is cool to stay here.
Oh,
So-
Nick,
You might need it. They left.
Nick's is cool.
Okay. All right. All right.
Love that guy.
Shout out.
Yeah, they announced that they.
We in the chat thought we said David Lynch.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, what?
David Lynch is the Division. You know what? I would watch that.
That'd be some shit, man.
There's a single phone ringing in the Pentagon.
Rob is trying to not actually just spit water.
You walk into the Oval Office. The red ring starts ringing. You pick it up. It's your own voice. Hello, Mr. President. I say to myself.
Meet me on Coney Island.
God, that'd be sick. No.
If you're looking for an ass kicking,
I'm wearing sunglasses on Coney Island.
All right. So then, Ubisoft.
$15 a month.
Okay, let's please explain what this is, Rob.
Their games are free now. UPlay
That's all I
announced
wanted to
a
know.
new streaming service called UPlay Plus.
Is it streaming or is
Not
it a
streaming. Sorry,
subscription?
subscription.
Okay, it's a subscription.
It's been a while. It's late.
I know.
But that's a good catch. It's a subscription service. UPlay Plus. It's
it is coming to Stadia, so it is also streaming in that sense.
You don't
that
want
an
me
air
to
ball?
start talking about Stadia.
No, is that a switch?
Draymond blocked it.
Oh, you're right. Draymond did block it.
So it didn't
Draymond
look
came
as-
out and blocked Izgumo.
You play Plus, $15 a month. You get a bunch of games. That's the
premium
but-
editions of all their popular new titles, plus their
That's a
entire
lot of
back
money
catalog.
for like one publisher.
Also, this is effectively how Origin works currently, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
So,
But my thought at like seeing was like, well, I don't want to pay for that given everything else that I'm paying for. But it said, oh, you'll get all the new games. That I was like, if you can just say like, hey, Watch Dogs Legion, like I'm just gonna pay $15,
This
blow
is-
through that game, Cancel.
That's literally how I played Battlefield 5.
Sure.
Because you can do that. You can do that
Right.
in Origin.
Which is like, what is the long play on this thing? Because that is what I'm going to do. That's
People
what
long play
sign
is-
up and forget that their credit card is
well,
getting
that
charged.
and theoretically they're building the library every
Over
year.
time.
So it's
Right.
like, well,
Right. I say this, but then like today I published a story that was like, oh, fucking
It's all gonna
Microsoft
get
Game Pass
removed.
is great. So
Oh, yeah.
you're right.
But
You
that's
go-
got
That has a huge. That has
that's
that
a
like
huge
that
library.
has that like 2 years later huge library.
Yeah.
but also library with games from other partners.
And also $10 a month if you
Meanwhile-
just want it on one platform.
Right.
this one was like, hey, you can finally play Beyond Good and Evil. Because if you've been holding off on that one, you're definitely keen to be like, fuck yeah, it's going to be on a
I'm pretty sure Beyond Good and Evil
subscription
is like
service.
$15 on Steam. Like it's not.
Right, but
And then
you
you-
only get Beyond
Yeah,
Good and
you're
Evil
right,
for
yeah,
that
okay,
one.
well. I just think that I think it is a reasonable model in the sense that we have seen this from a bunch of other publishers.
Yeah.
It is reasonable in the sense that it is market correct. Do I think it's good? No. I think it's a ridiculous way to play video games.
For $50 a month, Jessica Chastain will come to your house and found a militia with you.
Oh, okay.
That's
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Watch Dogs Legion again.
Market correct.
Market correct.
What's next? Is
You
that
like roller derby?
wait? Did we skip the other Tom Clancy property?
There's 3 Tom Clancy's.
Oh,
Because this is where I thought you were going, which
The
like
mobile
sometimes you're not going to be able to play the Division, which is when you'll be playing the Division in mobile with Clash of Clancy.
we don't need to talk about that.
I just think
Oh
it's
my
bad.
God.
We can
Okay, it
move
looks
it.
really
All right.
bad. It is very clearly their gachapon, right?
Yes.
Right? It's their
Yes.
gachapon.
Yes.
Okay.
Rob,
As long as we're on the topic, though.
A gold
swear to
level
fucking God.
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan's gonna be in the game.
You're going to be able to get Harrison
get Jim
Ford
from
Jack
The
Ryan.
Office in that
You're going to
fucking
get Jim Jack Ryan. You're going to get Ben Affleck Jack Ryan. All the different
All
Ryans.
the different Ryans. Collector's Ryans. SS Rare Ryans.
So he joined. Okay.
Shit sucks.
I should probably say this for low reasons, but you just got to know. So Jack Ryan was president at one point, right?
said that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Except here's the thing: he stopped being president, and somebody else who like wasn't worthy of the office became president, which is
Damn.
weird because like everyone who's president and isn't Jack Ryan turns out to be not worthy of the office.
Right.
Just like Solid Snake.
Yeah, it's wild. So then the point is, this dude's in here, and then Jack Ryan and all his friends were like awesome and like highly placed in the security state. They all form like a secret brotherhood to be like, if things go bad, we're going to overthrow this thing.
And what's that called?
And I don't remember.
Is it called The Division? Because isn't that the plot?
I mean, that's basically it. So like Tom Clancy, the Clancyverse basically like totally went in this direction where like Jack Ryan eventually just becomes like, man, it sucks when other people are president, doesn't it? And everyone's like, it sure does, sir.
Great.
Okay.
What was after all
Yeah.
of this shit?
Roller Champions.
I played that today.
That looks cool.
That was fun.
I want more games about stupid sports that couldn't exist in real life. I know that sort of does. I mean,
No, it's distinct. Here's
yeah.
here's the game. 3-on-3. You're on roller skates. You're in an arena that is an oval shape, right? Or not an arena. You're on a racetrack.
Blades.
Rollerblades, sure.
no, they had both. They had both.
It's
Okay,
not-
all right.
Yeah, there were
All
characters
right.
I think my
Okay.
character had
With
had
quads.
I'm
skates
just
on.
saying there's a difference between
I know,
blades
I know.
and skates.
Yeah,
You're right.
no, there
You're
are.
right. You're right. Though I don't think in the game. You have a controller in your hand, and right trigger is a boost. Is like I'm skating as fast as I can.
Yep.
Left trigger, I
Yep.
believe, is I'm gonna go down into like a little I'm gonna go into a crouch
slowing
to
down?
gain speed. No, the other way.
oh.
It's to gain speed when I'm going downhill, basically. And so you're kind of gaining speed when going up and down these walls like that. The whole course is a big like pipe. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's a ball. To score points, you have to complete a lap with the ball. Your team has to, with your team in controls. Maybe not just one player, you can pass the ball. But if your team completes one full lap from the checkerboard finish line across around, then you can, at that point, throw the ball into the hoop, which is that like sideways hoop, not a basketball hoop. not
Classic
horizontal.
ball sport.
Classic ball sport, Aztec ball sport, sideways hoop. Throw it through there, holding LB to get like an aiming cursor. Throw it through there. That gets you 1 point.
Okay.
But let me tell you this: you only need 5 points to win. Important note: 5 points to win, or go into overtime and then hit one score, right? Because it's sudden death. You go around the track once and then you throw it in. That's 1 point. You go around the track twice and throw it in. That's 3 points. You go around 3 times, that's 5 points.
Oh shit!
That
So
rules.
if
That
you
rules.
get a perfect run, if you're able to chain together full runarounds without getting checked,
What are the passing rules?
Pass forward, back, pass wherever you want, clear the
Shit.
ball. But if it hits the ground, it's still your control. You only lose control when the opposing team picks up the ball, which makes it their control and breaks your chain completely. So you've all these moments when you're playing.
That's really cool.
Where you were like, they have 4 points. They are going around.
gamble.
Right. Well, we're like, they have 4 points. I want to gamble. I want to go for the 3 around to get the 5. Or they're coming around and I have decided to do the Nidhogg thing of I'm not going to chase them from behind. I'm going to go around the other way. I'm going to loop
Get 'em from
back,
the back.
backwards. There's nothing stopping you from going the opposite direction. And I'm going to line up that shoulder check. And I'm going to knock the ball out of their hands just before they throw it. And it feels so good when it works. I played 3v3. I was actually playing with Alex from Giant Bomb on my team. We lost the first match in overtime, 1-0. We got kind of stomped the second match, 2-0. It still went to time, 7-minute rounds. Third round went down to one. It was 1-on-1, 20 seconds left. We get this great pass play set up, and I end up with the ball with 10 seconds left. I throw it in. I get the score. I get the win. It was competitive games are so fun when they come together like that. When you see a play develop, when everyone is understanding the rules of the game. And we were bad. We won 2-1. We didn't get to 5
Yeah,
points
you're very Eastern
once.
Conference. Yeah.
Very Eastern Conference. Though I will say, when we had the ball passing, we did look like Golden State. You know what I mean? We were doing some fucking
that one play that we saw tonight that we all kind of lost our shit for.
It was like that, but
Yes.
me. And so that felt good.
Okay.
It's gonna be free to play.
Oh.
It is. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be free to play. It is available now in alpha or something on the UPlay store, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Are there differences between characters?
Not as far as I could tell.
So
Or if there was no screen that was here's your character.
that makes me really curious because that is a free to play game with no monetization hooks.
I bet you
No,
there's
it's probably all cosmetics.
Probably cosmetics,
right?
I suppose. But okay. Also, my other question was: so you were playing with Alex?
Yes.
Were you playing 2-on-2?
No, 3-on-3. It's me, Alex, and then someone named Zachary who works for the Ubisoft blog.
But if you didn't have an Alex, are those AI characters? Or
I think it's all multiplayer.
It's all multiplayer.
You will be matched with randos.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a 3v3.
Bummer, but
Yeah.
whatever. I get it. It looks very cool.
It was. I actually had a lot of fun.
It legitimately.
You also do. Okay, so the thing that I looked it up and I did remember that part of their pitch was you will rank up, and as you rank up, more people will come to see you play, which is funny.
That's cool.
The stands will fill up.
The stands will fill up.
Hell yeah, that's great. That's very Rock Band.
Yes, it is.
The thing that really when that trailer came out, I honestly was not to exactly shake my violence in games bad, but it was just really nice to see that game and be dang, maybe a game is just a ball and you roll the ball through the hoop.
Sometimes.
And I'm a game can just be a ball, and you pass it around, you get points, and everyone's happy, and no one dies because
you tear your Achilles, and then you're gonna be out for the 2019 to 2020 season.
That footage of
And the only reason you're playing is because everyone talks so much
get off
shit
social
about
media,
Oh my God.
including your teammates.
Your
who are
teammates.
it's better. I actually like it.
and they're
when
out
you're
here
not
now
around.
being
Yeah.
KD, you don't understand who he is. He's a good.
So Roller Champions looks really cool.
Anyway, yeah, and you know what? It is great. Sometimes, it's
It was a
very
blast.
pure.
Free to play is probably going to be the right price. We talked about this the other day with Bleeding Edge.
You almost did it.
Bleeding Edge, it's hard to find. There's so many multiplayer games right now, and so many of them are actually really good that it can be hard for them to find an audience.
Right.
And so I hope people give this a shot, and I hope they have a good time with it. I certainly did.
And then Eve came out and thanked us for our love, and then introduced. I mean, he did. It stuck out. I was like, "That was cool."
Rob felt touched.
Yeah.
I was
Finally, someone.
Someone appreciates us.
I felt sane. But he was there to announce the new project from their Quebec City studio.
Yes.
I forget the name.
Gods and Monsters.
Yeah.
It's about Hollywood, and sorry,
It is a storybook adventure about a forgotten hero on a quest to save the Greek gods.
I heard someone call it Zelda-like. Has that been confirmed? confirmed.
Well, but the rumor before it was shown was that Ubisoft's going to show something that was influenced by Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Nothing about that trailer.
No.
was,
Except for like the visual.
It was bright.
style.
Yes, but I think when people think, Breath of the Wild, you're thinking very specifically, not Zelda, you're thinking Breath of the Wild, which is like a big world with like systemic interaction.
Yes.
And maybe that still has that, but there's nothing in there to suggest that that's how it would play
It
out.
could just as easily be like an old style Zelda in terms
Sure.
of like it's a linear story throughout a place.
Right, which also could be fine.
fine.
It looked good enough.
I just can't wait to arrest Kratos.
all that
God,
murder.
someone
My understanding. You know what? I didn't sign shit. It seemed like there was like some behind closed doors Gods and Monsters shit happening at the Ubisoft event tonight. In the same way that in the past couple of years there had been.
There's like the Beyond Good and Evil,
Beyond
where
Good
it's
and
like
Evil.
send an email to someone and see if you can go see that thing.
Right, and I talked to people and they were like, "No, we're not showing it." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, but
I
are
talked
you?
to some other people and they were like, "We're gonna go see it." So we'll see if that's a
get your
thing.
hands on Gods and Monsters, Waypoint exclusive.
We will not.
No.
No, that's- yeah.
I think especially after being so negative on Beyond Good and Evil 2 years in a row.
But if
they
we
are-
say we're Vice Gaming
Vice-
and not Vice Games,
Totally
it's
different.
a different
I love it.
outlet.
Yeah.
come right away. I think we'll see some more about that this
Walker.
week. I would like
No,
to
you
see.
could be a different Walker.
I could be. Cold. Hey, everybody, it's
My
me.
name's Peace.
My name's
Peace
Peace
Walker.
Just like Solid Snake, man. Fuck.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll
what
see
else?
more about that. That's
And then,
it, right?
Ubisoft was done.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I truly, it's weird because as we're recapping this, it doesn't feel that way. But when I was watching it, I started watching right after Watch Dogs, so I missed seeing Watch Dogs revealed live. For me, it was just like, man, that's a lot of Tom Clancy. There's
Yeah.
just a whole bunch of Tom
Yeah.
Clancy, which does nothing.
That's pretty much why Borders went out of business. It's like all this Tom Clancy
Just
shit.
taking up shelf space.
He didn't need an entire bookshelf full of Tom Clancy. The Ops Center books, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was my qualm as well, Rob.
Quality Borders, financial problems joke.
It's my final takeaway on the Ubisoft stuff is just like I want to get to a place where I can get I can get excited about Roller Champions without it having to be literally surrounded by Tom Clancy games. One. And then
Not
two,
gonna happen.
I want to develop the critical apparatus of games criticism such that we can get to the place where instead of having, and I tweeted about this today, instead of having why won't Ubisoft say these games are political, we all know they are, and we get to what are they saying, period, as works. About politics, about culture, about life, about technology, about relationships, about all of that shit. And as kind of insofar as we have to be part of the enthusiast press, we're able to figure out a fucking way to both hold shit that is really gross accountable while still celebrating the work of designers. And I don't know how to do that when designers have to work in these big companies without feeling gross about it a little bit. I think this is not
Especially as you can't figure out the A to B to C. It's like where does the responsibility fall on decisions that don't work for you when
Right.
you're working with games with $100 million budgets,
right. And big teams.
thousands of people, big teams.
I say
where
it a
you
lot. We work for a big corporation, and we don't always agree with what that big corporation does.
Right.
At all. And so it can be tough. We ask our audience to have a degree of
have a healthy
sympathy.
skepticism, but
Right.
also an understanding that how we
are.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can I'm not at that point yet with Ubisoft.
But there is something specific with the Watch Dogs team. Certain types of people, you're like,
And not even
okay.
types of people. It's specific.
And
people.
that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Right.
Certain people are like, I follow them. I enjoy their work. They seem like smart people that would ask questions that I would hope people would be asking.
But do I not? But am I so skeptical of the machine with which they are working that I can't even give them that benefit? I don't know.
That's a very big question.
It is, but it's an
That's not-
ongoing
yeah,
project.
yeah,
it's
not-
all ongoing projects.
When I hear you say that, though, I think a thing that I struggle with is there's a bit of self-selection about what I engage with as a critic. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to do that, I think part of it is also that I probably actually need to start paying more attention to the Wildlands of the world. And not just read the take where it's like, this is an insensitive and irresponsible portrayal
Right.
of Central and Latin America. But I need also to interrogate that text as a critic, right? Like the good and the bad. Like if you talk to film, like a lot of like really knowledgeable and progressive film critics can tell you chapter and verse what happened in the fucking Rambo movies.
Right.
Why? The Rambo movies are toxic, but it is important to understand like why, like the nature of the poison that is being distributed. I think what tends to happen in our spaces is that we tend to look at like these really hyper militarized games, and on some level we're like, look, life is short, our time is finite. There's a million games out there. What are we going to engage with? Probably not that. That's probably that's for somebody else. We know what it's going to say, but maybe we don't. Right? That's part of it. Or even if we do, maybe it's important to make that argument. That's kind of like what I struggle with too.
Sure. Yeah.
People should go read Jack DeKeat's incredible piece on Wildlands, actually. I Can't Outrun the Malice of Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is a piece that does not ignore the fact that that was a game that transformed Bolivia into a quote-unquote narco state to such a degree that Bolivia itself had to be like, excuse me, we are a real place with real people who live real lives. We are not a playground for you to fictionalize and turn into and pathologize, turn into a villain and pathologize. But also engages with a kind of a deeper layer of what that game is doing thematically and emotionally. And it's that sort of work that I want to see more and more people do when it comes to games like this, including myself. Like, this is about holding myself accountable and doing what you just said, right? Which is like force myself to engage with it. It can be really difficult to, because for a lot of reasons, one of which is we have to go meet people and we have to be like, hey, shake your hand. Wow, yeah, you worked on that thing?
What'd you think of the demo? Oh, yeah, I had a really good time.
Totally, but like we have to get better at it. We have to. And if that means like, yeah, I'm going to write about it, I have to get better at saying, I'm going to write about it and you're going to read about it. You know what I mean? So I think about this a lot coming off of the Modern Warfare demo, for instance.
Yes.
Or event. Anyway,